Yo, what is good with y'all, man? Okay, welcome back to another video for the channel. There's some scary stuff today, okay? We're to 4 true celebrity stalker horror stories animated, okay? I don't know who celebrities he's about to choose from. We're finna see what he's talking about today, bro. Scary videos, man.
It started like any other glamorous evening. The air outside was freezing, thick with the unmistakable New Year's buzz.
Okay.
Inside the venue was alive with light and chatter. Emma Watson, the star of the night,
looked
every bit the icon, calm, radiant, and focused. Everything seemed perfect. The first time I saw him, he was just another face in the crowd, hanging back near the service doors. At first glance, he didn't stand out.
Why did he make his eyes and lips black, bro? How did he even get in the building?
Noticed his eyes. They didn't just follow Emma. They locked onto her, like she was the only person in the world. His clothes looked scruffy, his hair unkempt.
He knew what he wanted.
And there was the strange stiffness and how he stood
Nobody
like
smelled
he was
him?
forcing himself to stay still.
Doesn't that guy seem odd?
I whispered to one of the security
Secret
guards.
Service?
Over by the doors? The guard glanced over and nodded. I'll check him out. I watched as the guard approached him. The man didn't argue or resist. He just backed off into the crowd, his eyes still darting toward Emma whenever he thought no one was watching. I shook off the unease. These events always had a few overzealous fans. No big deal, right? Until the scraping started. I was by the dressing rooms, checking the final schedule, when I heard it. A faint metallic sound, like something sharp being dragged over metal. My stomach nodded. At first, I thought it was just one of the crew adjusting equipment. Then it came again. Scrape. Pause. Scrape. Heart pounding, I turned the corner toward the sound, and there he was. He was crouched at Emma's dressing room door, a thin piece of metal in his hand. A lockpick.
Oh!
But that wasn't all. His other hand was pressed against the door.
What
fingers
the?
clawing at the wood. His nails scraping so hard that they were splintering.
Yo, how long do you have to do that
Blood
for your
dripped
hands
from
to
his
get like that,
fingertips,
bro?
smeared across the door like some grotesque message. I froze, watching in horror as one of his nails bent back
Secret Service?
snapping off with a sickening crack. He didn't flinch. He didn't stop.
That dude is determined.
We're gonna get married. Trust me, I'm not lying. He whispered, his voice shaking but determined.
We're just standing here?
What the hell are you doing?
I shouted. His head snapped up, his eyes wide and wild. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then he smiled. Not a normal smile. This was slow, twisted, as he'd been just caught doing something.
You're telling me the girl in that situation is going to actually get his attention. After analyzing everything that's happening in this situation, she's going to actually get the guy's attention. That way he diverts himself to her.
Something he was proud of. You don't get it, he said, his voice low and shaky. She's mine. She's always been mine. Before I could react, he door, slamming his shoulder into it with a force that shook the frame. Inside, I heard Emma's panicked voice calling for security. I yelled for help, but he kept battering the door, each impact more frantic than the last. His bloody handprints smearing
get them
across
on the
line.
line.
When the security team arrived, they grabbed him and dragged him away. He thrashed and screamed, his voice echoing down the hallway. You can't keep us apart! She's mine! She's been waiting for me! Even as they hauled him off, he kept his eyes fixed on the door, his grin unshaken. The sight of his bloodied, nailless fingers burned itself into my mind. I thought that was the end of it. Emma insisted on finishing the evening, her composure unbroken. But as we walked her to the car later, the air felt heavier and colder. Security swept the lot, giving the all clear, and Emma stepped into the car. Just as the door closed, one of the guards' radios crackled. There's something by the back exit, a voice said.
Yo, y'all didn't neutralize this guy?
The team moved swiftly, and I followed, my stomach twisting. At the far end of the lot, near the service entrance, they found it. The door he'd been clawing at earlier, now splattered with fresh blood and scratched to splinters.
He came back?
Next to it lay a pile of Emma's photos, torn from magazines, printed from the internet, all smeared with streaks of red, along with obscene and filthy desires and fantasies of him with Emma were written behind them. Above them was a note scrawled in what we could only assume was his own blood. She is mine. You'll never stop me. Emma left that night under heavy protection, and the event organizers promised tighter security measures in the future. But no amount of assurances could ever erase what had happened. I still see his face in my nightmares, the lipstick smeared like a twisted mask, his words playing on a loop in my mind. Men like Chad don't stop.
In your mind,
They
imagine
find
how
paths
Emma
to slip
feels.
through and shadows to linger in. And even when they're gone, their presence stays behind, a dark stain that never
He got that
quite
Pennywise
fades.
smile.
In September 2023, Chad Michael Busto,
That could have been
43,
avoided very
was
easily.
arrested for trespassing at a New York Fashion Week event, where he allegedly entered a dressing room and shouted his desire to marry actress Emma Watson.
Oh,
He
this
was
is
charged
real.
with criminal trespass and disorderly conduct. Busto has a history of similar incidents, including attempting to approach actress Drew Barrymore. In June 2024, he was arrested in Oxford, UK, after seeking information about Watson at the university where she was studying.
Yo.
Authorities detained him on suspicion of stalking and later released him under investigation.
Oh, brother. Yeah, she's still getting stalked.
It started as just another quiet evening, the kind where you don't expect anything out of the ordinary.
That
Brittany
Roblox
wasn't
house,
home
that
night.
Bloxburg house.
Her house in Thousand
that
Oaks
Sims
was
house.
peaceful, bathed in soft twilight, the kind of serene setting that hides the lurking shadows of danger. None of us could have imagined what was about to happen.
Okay.
The first sign of trouble came as a strange, jittery notification on my phone. Jason Alexander was live streaming. The name made my stomach churn. Jason,
that's your ex?
Brittany's ex-husband for those fleeting 55 hours back in 2004, had always been a ghost of her past.
Why
But
do
lately,
bottom half
he'd
his body
transformed
gray?
into something far darker, a relentless shadow that refused to let go. I clicked on the notification, my curiosity quickly giving way to dread. The live stream flickered to life,
What
and there
the
he was.
Yo, what's
standing
up with
outside Brittany's
what's up with him
glowing home.
drawing these
His
smiles
face
like
was
this?
gaunt, his eyes glassy with a mix of obsession and mania. The shaky camera panned over the front yard, its neatly trimmed hedges
Ain't that
and
her crib?
immaculate walkway. His voice, a guttural whisper, came through the feed. "I'm here for you, Brittany," he said, his tone dripping with an eerie sense
Oh
of purpose.
my God.
"I'm coming inside." He moved
Shoot
toward the
him
house,
now.
the camera jittering as he walked. My chest tightened. The way he moved, calculated yet frantic, reminded me of a predator.
That dude
stalking
went
its
live
prey.
and did that. He
He
has
reached the
nothing
front
to
door and
lose.
jiggled the handle.
Anybody can join
Locked.
that.
His frustration was palpable. A sharp exhale of breath followed by muttered curses. Then he circled the house, the camera
I mean, at least you
capturing
know where he
glimpses of
is.
the darkened windows and the faint reflections of his gaunt figure. He found a window. I'll never forget the sound that followed, the sharp, piercing crack of glass shattering. The live stream trembled as he climbed through, his breath ragged, his voice a mix of exhilaration and delusion. "I'm here," he murmured.
Yo.
"This is where I'm supposed to be."
No,
The
it
view
is not,
shifted as he
sir.
moved
Please
inside.
leave, sir.
The pristine, polished floors gleamed under the soft glow of recessed lighting. The silence of the house was
Is she not
deafening,
gonna get out the
broken
crib?
only by the creak of his footsteps and the occasional unsettling chuckle that escaped his lips. He wandered through the living room, his hands brushing over furniture like he was claiming it as his own. When he reached the staircase, the tension became unbearable. Step by step, he ascended.
Yo,
the
she's
camera
literally
bouncing
on
with
her
each
phone,
movement.
watching
"Are you
everything
hiding from me,
unfold.
Brittany?"
She's
He
literally
called,
not. You
his
can go
voice
in her
echoing
room
in
right
the
now.
empty
She's gonna be
space.
on her phone.
"You don't have to hide. I'm here for you." He entered her bedroom. The camera lingered on the bed, perfectly made with crisp, white sheets. He approached it slowly, his hand trembling as he reached out to touch the fabric. "This is where she sleeps," he whispered, his tone
Yo.
almost returned to the closet. My heart raced as I watched him slide open the doors, revealing rows of neatly hung clothes. He ran his fingers over the fabrics, his breath hitching. "So close," he said.
Yo.
"I can feel her."
Yo.
It wasn't just the words.
Wait.
It was the
Oh,
way
I don't
he
think that's
said
his house.
them.
Yeah, because
A
she's still
sick
in
mix
bed.
of awe
That's
and
not her
possession.
house.
The invasion was intimate and grotesque.
Oh, I think
This wasn't
Brittany,
just a
I'm
house.
stupid.
It was Brittany's sanctuary, and he was violating it in the most
She's just
personal
watching.
way
Got you.
possible. But he didn't stop there. Jason's footsteps creaked as he walked into the adjoining bathroom. The live stream showed him running his hands along the marble countertops and pausing at the sink. He picked up a loofah, pressing it to his face and inhaling deeply. She used this, he whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. This was hers. He opened the medicine cabinet next, rifling through its contents.
This man is
Bottles
gooed
clinked
out,
as he pulled out a perfume bottle, spraying it into the air and walking through the mist like it was some twisted blessing. He giggled, a high-pitched, unsettling sound that sent chills down my spine. The camera jerked again as he turned back toward the bedroom, his eyes scanning for more intimate relics. He picked up a pillow from the bed, clutching it tightly to his chest, as if it were a stand-in for Brittany herself. I'll wait for you here, he murmured, sinking to the floor beside the bed, rocking slightly as he hugged the pillow. The livestream audience exploded with comments. What is this guy doing? Someone call the cops. This is insane. And then the screen jolted. A sudden sound shattered the tension. Voices, sharp and authoritative. Brittany's security team had arrived. The camera tilted wildly.
Now security, how y'all let him get to the house and break in?
The feed cut off abruptly.
Dude already in the room and y'all just now arriving. What if she was there? She would have been bodied.
Later, I learned the police had arrested him on charges of trespassing, vandalism, and stalking. Brittany wasn't home, thank God, but the damage was done. The footage of that night stayed with me, haunting my thoughts. Jason's actions weren't just terrifying, they were a chilling reminder of the thin line between fandom and obsession. Even now, every time I see a live stream pop up on my phone, I feel a pang of unease.
Relax.
That night wasn't just an
Nothing
invasion
happened
of
to
Brittany's
you
privacy.
personally.
It was a glimpse into the
Why are
darkness
you so
of fixation,
traumatized?
the kind that doesn't just watch from afar, but forces its way in.
Every time I see a live, like, bro, calm down.
Jason Alexander, Britney Spears' ex-husband, was arrested in June 2022 for stalking and trespassing at her California home on her wedding day to Sam Asghari.
On the wedding
Alexander live-streamed himself attempting to crash the wedding, gaining unauthorized entry and claiming he was invited. He was subdued by security before reaching Spears. Authorities charged him with trespassing, stalking, vandalism, and battery. Alexander had a history of erratic behavior and had previously shown obsessive tendencies towards Spears. He was convicted of aggravated trespassing.
Why you
and
look like
sentenced
that?
to 64 days in jail. Spears and her team heightened security measures following the incident.
Nah, bro, I would have been mad paranoid if once he came out.
It was New Year's Eve 2017, and the energy backstage at Katy Perry's Witness tour was electric.
Perry.
The crowd screams were so loud.
Oh
they made
shoot,
the
they
walls
turned up
hum.
in that hole.
I've been hired to assist her security detail, a last-minute assignment and a prestigious one.
Okay.
This was Katy Perry, after all, one of the biggest stars in the world. And while her fans were known for being passionate, tonight they seemed harmless enough. At least, that's what I told myself. The concert itself was a blur of lights, music, and cheering fans. I stayed near the stage, scanning the crowd for anything unusual.
That boy looked like Robert
That's
Pattinson.
when I first noticed him. He was tall, in his mid to late 30s,
Man, what?
and dressed too plainly to be part.
Are you serious? Get a rocket launcher for this man right now. I don't want no talking, bro.
The glitter-covered audience.
Heck no.
His face was pale, his eyes dark and intense.
This dude has
While everyone
20
else danced
eye
and
bags
screamed,
on his
he
face,
stood
bro.
completely
On
still.
each eye.
He wasn't watching the show. He was watching her. His lips moved constantly, whispering something I couldn't hear. See that guy? I said to another guard, nodding toward him.
Yeah, creepy, but harmless, right?
Maybe, I said, but something about him sent a chill through me. He wasn't just watching her, he was fixating. When the show ended and the crowd began to disperse, I felt a wave of relief. The man had disappeared, and I figured he'd gone home like everyone else. But as the crew started packing up and Katie's team moved backstage, a strange feeling settled over me. It was too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes the hairs on your neck
where is
stand up.
security at,
I was
bro?
doing
It's
a final
Katy
sweep
Perry.
of the hallway leading to Katie's dressing room when I saw it. A smear of red lipstick on the wall. It trailed downward into a jagged streak, ending in a small handprint. My stomach twisted. I radioed another guard, but before they could respond, I heard a faint noise. It was coming from the dressing room. I pushed the door open cautiously, my heart pounding. At first glance, everything seemed normal. Her makeup was laid out neatly on the vanity,
She
her
belongs to
costume hung up
me.
on the rack, and the faint smell of roses from the bouquets filled the air. But then I saw him. He was sitting in the corner of the room,
How did
half
he
hidden
get back
in the
there
shadows,
without
his
nobody
head
noticing?
tilted to an unnatural angle. His hand rested on one of her brushes, stroking it slowly, almost lovingly. His lips moved again, whispering words I couldn't make out. My voice caught in my throat as I took a step inside. Hey!
Yo, this
I
dude look
said,
ugly
my
as
voice sharper than I intended. You're not
Ew,
supposed
get
to
this
be
man
here.
out of this angle,
He
bruh.
didn't react. Instead, he turned his gaze toward the vanity mirror. That's when I saw the words scrawled in bright red lipstick. She belongs to me. Stand up, I ordered, taking another step toward him. My hand hovered over the baton at my side. Finally, he moved. Slowly, deliberately, he stood, his eyes never leaving the mirror. She's waiting for me, he said softly. She called me here. You need to leave, I said.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie,
reached for
I'm
my
not
radio,
taking this guy
but before I
serious if
could
I'm
signal,
him.
he lunged at me. The force of his attack sent us
Oh.
crashing into the vanity, shattering the glass surface. Perfume bottles and makeup were scattered across the floor. He grabbed a shard of glass and swung wildly, his eyes burning with a terrifying intensity. You don't understand, he screamed, his voice raw and desperate.
Get active.
She's mine.
Hit
She's
him.
always been mine. I fought to restrain him, but his strength was unreal.
Weak,
It was
you're
as if
fired,
pure
you're fired, you're
obsession
fired,
had
you're
given him
fired.
power. He clawed
Trash,
and thrashed,
trash.
his breath hot against my face as he muttered Katie's name over
Trash.
and over. Just as he broke free of my grip, two other guards burst into the room, tackling him to the ground. Even then, he didn't stop fighting. He didn't stop screaming. The police arrived minutes later. They found a notebook in his jacket pocket, its pages filled with rambling letters addressed to Katie. They weren't love notes. They were fantasies. Dark, detailed fantasies about he'd rescue her, how they'd start a life together. He'd been
Terrible
following her
drawings.
for weeks, showing up at 6 different concerts, sneaking backstage each time. But what made
Else
my blood
each
run
time
cold
on 6
was the
different
last
shows?
page. It wasn't just a plan, it was a promise. Written in shaky black ink were the words, "Tonight is the night we'll finally be together." Beneath it, he'd drawn a crude sketch of her dressing room, down to the last detail. As the police dragged him away, he turned to me, his face twisted into a grin. "You can't stop Destiny," he said. "She'll come for me. You'll see." For weeks after,
not
I
coming
couldn't
for you,
shake his
gang.
words. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face.
Why
his
every single
smile,
time
the
at
red
the end of these
lipstick on the
stories they're
mirror.
always closing
I
their
stayed in
eyes and
security,
never forgetting
but
it?
I was never the same. Every fan in a crowd became a potential threat. Every open door made my pulse quicken. And every time I
Bro,
heard Katy Perry's
you're not
music,
gonna
I
do
thought
nothing,
of him,
bro. I'm not gonna
of
lie.
the notebook, of the words he'd written in lipstick. She belongs
You almost
to
got
me.
bodied, sir.
Powell Jersky, a 37-year-old Polish man, was arrested for stalking pop star Katy Perry during her
Ooh.
concert tour in December 2017. He reportedly attended 6 of her concerts in different cities across the U.S. and made multiple attempts to approach her. Jersky was caught at Miami's American Airlines Arena after attempting to force his way backstage. Authorities found he had a history of obsessive behavior, including plans to enter Perry's hotel. He was charged with aggravated stalking and trespassing. Perry's team reported feeling unsafe due to his persistent actions. Jersky later claimed he wanted to meet and talk with her.
Oh shoot, another one.
It was just another Tuesday
forgot it was
night,
4.
and I was sitting on my porch, lighting a cigarette after a long, exhausting day.
Okay.
The street was quiet, unusually so. A soft breeze carried the faint hum of distant traffic, and for a moment, it felt like the city was finally giving me a break. I leaned back, exhaling a cloud of smoke, my mind drifting as I watched the occasional
This man look
headlights
like
pass
Bruce
by.
Banner.
Out of the corner of my eye, I
On
noticed
drugs.
Reggie walking down the street. He was heading towards his sister's place like he always did around this time. The type of man who wouldn't harm a fly. Tonight, he looked
He
the
looked
same
cool,
as
though. He
ever.
looked chill.
Just another guy heading home. I took another drag and glanced up the street again. That's when I saw them. 5 girls, maybe teenagers,
Oh.
walking a few steps behind him. They were laughing, pushing each other, like kids do. Nothing about it seemed strange at first, but as they got closer, I caught something in their
Yo,
tone.
what is her
A
40-year-old
sharpness,
body
an edge that made me
doing
sit
here,
up a
bro?
little straighter. Still, I shrugged it off. Kids are kids, right?
That is not a
Reggie
kid.
turned down
That
the
is
alley
a
that
grown
cut through
woman in
his sister's
front.
block. It was a shortcut everyone in the neighborhood knew. I'd taken it myself plenty of times. The girls followed him, their laughter echoing louder now. Something
You're telling me this is a teenager right here. This is 45-year-old Diella Bergarni with 3 kids and pills that she has to take before bed each night, okay?
made the hair on my arm stand up. It wasn't the kind of laughter you'd expect from kids. It was cruel. I stayed where I was,
This
watching.
dude tweaking.
At first, it sounded like nothing more than playful teasing.
Hey, old man.
One of them shouted. Reggie turned, confused. He said something, but I couldn't make it out.
We're bored.
Another girl said, a wicked grin spreading across her face.
Yo, look at bro in the
Reggie
back.
tried to walk faster, but they were on him in seconds. One of them
Look how
grabbed his
tall
bag
she
and yanked
is.
it out of his hand, spilling its contents onto the pavement. He protested, reaching down to gather his things, but another girl shoved him hard. He stumbled back against the wall.
Yo,
his hands
Bruce Banner,
raised
get
defensively.
involved.
Leave me alone, he said, his voice trembling.
Oh
Or
my.
what?
That is
The tallest
not a
girl sneered.
teenager, bro.
Before he could answer, she slapped him across the face, hard. The sound cracked through the alley like a gunshot. Reggie staggered, and that's when it began. They swarmed him, fists flying. One girl grabbed his belt and yanked it free, whipping it across his back with brutal force.
Look, I'm not saying you know what I'm saying, hit women and all that stuff, bro, but if that was me, dude, bro,
He tried
help
to crawl
him.
away, but they didn't let up. One
They're
of them
whipping
grabbed a
him
chunk of
like
broken
a
concrete
little, like,
and
bro,
slammed
this
it
is
into
not
his
the
already broken
1918.
body over and over until he stopped moving.
Are you serious right now? What the heck, bro? Why isn't this dude helping him? I did not think they were gonna go that far. What? I thought they were just gonna bully him.
Kicked his legs out from under him, sending him crashing to the ground. He tried to crawl away, but they didn't
Help
let up.
him!
One of them grabbed a chunk of broken concrete and slammed it into his already broken body over and over until he stopped moving. The sound of it was sickening, a dull thud that I can still hear in my nightmares.
This is too easy.
One of them said, laughing. He
Big
stomped on
chin.
his chest, her
Crimson
sneaker leaving a
chin.
bloody print on his shirt. Another girl knelt beside him, pulling at his pockets, searching for something worth taking. When she didn't find anything, she spat on him. Reggie's groans grew quieter with every blow. His face was a mess of blood and swelling, barely recognizable. They didn't stop. They kicked him in the ribs, his head, anywhere they could reach. One girl stood back, recording the whole thing on her phone, her voice shrill as she egged the others on.
Hit him harder. Make it
The
count.
guy on the porch is
I wanted
he's
to
not.
scream, to
Bro,
run
shut
over
up, bro.
and stop them.
Bruce Banner,
but
you're
my
good for
legs
nothing,
wouldn't
bro.
Move. My hands were shaking so badly that I nearly dropped
This
my
dude's
cigarette.
afraid of 5
All I could
teenage
do
girls,
was
bro,
watch,
as a grown
frozen
man.
in horror as they beat him to death. When it was over, they stood over his body, panting and laughing. One of them tossed the belt onto him like it was some kind of trophy. Another one kicked him lightly, testing if he'd move.
Let's go.
The tall girl said, wiping her hands on her jeans. They walked off, their laughter fading into the distance, leaving Reggie crumpled and lifeless on the cold concrete. I sat there for what felt like hours, unable to move, unable to think. Eventually, I forced myself to call 911. My voice shook
So-
as I told the operator.
This man just said he sat there frozen for like an hour, just in fear. And then he calls 911? Bro, get him out of here, bro. It's a little too late for that, buddy.
Bring myself to say that I'd seen it all and I'd done nothing to stop it. The paramedics came, the cops came. They covered Reggie's body with a sheet and started asking questions. I stayed in the shadows, watching, unable to face the reality of what I'd witnessed. In the days that followed, the video surfaced. It was everywhere. The girls' faces were plastered on every news
They
channel.
recorded
Their
it
mugshots
and
a
posted
chilling reminder of how young they were. People called them monsters, demons, and maybe they were. But all I could think about was how easily it had happened. How they turned a man's life into a
How
game
easily,
just
buddy?
because they were bored. In October 2023,
And that's
5
real.
girls aged 12 to 15 attacked and killed 64-year-old Reggie Brown in Washington, D.C.,
Wow.
reportedly out of boredom. They chased Brown, a disabled man, and brutally beat him in an alley, causing fatal blunt force trauma. She was sentenced to confinement until age 21 for her role in the murder. Other participants received varying sentences, including a 15-year-old who was sentenced to 3 years in prison after pleading guilty to assault with a dangerous weapon.
12 to 15? Who are their parents to be like, they don't, bro, they literally raised demons, bro. They literally raised demons. 12 to 15 years old, you're going out killing a disabled man because you're bored. That's a literal demon. That's a demon! And this dude sat there and saw the entire thing. This grown man is scared of little kids. That's actually insane, bro. All those kids would have been sent to the gulag, bro. Hey, man, if y'all did enjoy this video, bro, don't be afraid to like, comment, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, okay? We almost at 1,000 subs, man, in the next video.